Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Sadly, a lot of my people are not smart enough for the 5th grade, man. Grab a pencil and a piece of paper. Fair mother flipping use. Niggas ain't smarter than 5th graders. So think about this. Niggas from Virginia, niggas from the DMV. Think about this. More than 560 federally recognized Indian tribes in the country, but none of Virginia's tribes. So there's tribes in Virginia, but they won't give them federally recognized status. Why is that? Why is that? Because it would completely destroy what Walter Plecker put in place. You would have to go around and to everybody in Virginia, everybody in Washington, everybody in the entire DMV area. You would have to go around to the people in the surrounding states outside the DMV area and start to ask people where they really from, what's really good with them. You mean it would be like how Biden said he's going to start asking people if they actually have slave ancestry on federal paperwork? What? Ghetto, you just be saying stuff. I know. I know I just be saying stuff. I know I just be saying stuff. I just be saying stuff. I know I just be saying stuff. I know I just be saying stuff. Cause you niggas are dumb. Alright then, hold on. I can't. U.S. considers asking Black Americans on census if they are slave descendants. Change would help qualify eligibility for reparations, so the government agreed to pay them. Hold up, but I thought everybody had. Nah, you mean everybody don't have? Hold on, you mean everybody don't have? What? Everybody don't have slave ancestry. You mean what? You mean everybody don't have? What type of craziness is this? Y'all niggas told me. From local12.com, Black Americans, it says could, but they will be asked, but I'll leave it at could. Black Americans could be asked on census if they're descendants of slaves. If. Hold up. Nigga, what you mean if? I thought we was taught in school that we came here from Africa. Hey. And we came here from Africa. Hey. Hey, he said he from Africa. Hey, but he really from Virginia. She said she from Africa. Hey, but she from the Carolinas. You just talking shit and your victim niggas quit it. Always talking about some Smafrica. Scamming. These niggas from Scamfrica. Black Africans. I can't even get through this. Black Africans could be asked on census if they're descendants of slaves, the report says. What? Zachary Rogers, the National Desk, Local 12 is a report from April 3rd. The federal government is reportedly considering adding questions on the census, asking Black Americans if any of their ancestors were. Hold on. Why would you need to ask me if? I know why you need to ask me if, because one, this nigga was lying. Number two, the free slave owners. This is why you'd have to ask me if. Because if I'm a free Negro slave owner in the 1830s, nigga, I would fucking had North Carolina, South Carolina. This thing is extensive, man. Tennessee, Virginia. Ooh, Virginia. Virginia is an extensive. Virginia is mad pages on Virginia in here, just so you know. Jesus Christ. All these Negro slave owners in Virginia. What in the fleazy McFleazy flans? You making it up, ghetto. You lying, ghetto. I know. I'm lying. That's cool. It's cool. I'm lying. I think I'm gonna have to pull the book up because you niggas think I'm lying. I'll do that in a second. The federal government is reportedly considering asking questions on the census, asking Black Americans if, not how many, not how long, not what were the names of, if I had one wish, we would be best friends, loving and hugging. It would just be in. If I had one wish, you would be my boo. Promise to love you, learn me, I trust you. If I had one wish, one wish, one wish, one wish, one wish. If, nigga, you know what if means? If any of their ancestors were enslaved by Americans. The Wall Street Journal reports that questions are potentially part of a proposed update on how the U.S. tracks statistics on its citizens, races, and ethnicities from President Joe Biden's administration. Oh, Biden is crazy. He don't know what he's doing. Shut up. It's reportedly one of the several potential updates the administration is pondering as it works to refine the country's collection of demographic data. Can't do all this spit in a fucking tube bullshit. It's over. All that, it was entertainment use only, and it's over, nigga. Okay? You motherfuckers had your fun. You motherfuckers had your fun. You had your fun. We're not doing this. Supporters of the change seek to add a question to the census that would ask respondents who say they are Black or African American if their ancestors were slaves. If. Not how many, not what's the names, not where they came from. If, nigga. If. The Wall Street Journal says adding that the Biden administration was asking if the public if the terms American descendants of slavery, ADOS, or African freedmen would be acceptable in that case. My God. According to the Wall Street Journal, here it goes. U.S. government is considering asking Black Americans on federal forms, including the census, whether their ancestors were enslaved. Biden's administration reportedly wants the public's input on how it might differentiate between Blacks whose ancestors were victims of the country's slave trade and Black Americans whose ancestors immigrated more recently, such as from the Caribbean. Or Mama Africa. This is important according to advocates, as society often fails to distinguish the two groups apart, conflating their experiences. Everybody ain't go through that shit, nigga. Y'all just like being victims. Crying for mommy. America sees Black people as a monolith. A spokesperson for the National Assembly of American slave descendants, Chad Brown, told the Wall Street Journal, the National Assembly of American slave descendants. We gonna look that up, nigga. We gonna look that up. When you say all black people are the same, you are ignoring differences in culture, ancestry, economics, and you are doing a disservice to everyone lumped into that group. You are doing a disservice. Yes, you victim-ass niggas who swear you love your people are doing them a disservice, discrediting and ignoring their culture, their ancestry, and what got them to the point they at today. You don't get the right to disrespect people's ancestors and people's genealogy like this. You motherfucking victims. You victim Olympics ass niggas. The proposed question comes as some parts of America are pondering giving reparations to qualifying descendants of slaves. And according to the Wall Street Journal, advocates for the proposed update to the census say that it will help determine and quantify who would be eligible for reparations if the government ever decides to pay them. Ghetto, I still don't understand what this got to do with my greens, beans, tomatoes, potatoes, yam, hams, hogs, dogs. Because you're stupid. You're stupid. That's why. You don't have good pattern recognition. If America wants resources to go to the populations that need them the most, we must accurately recognize who is affected and why. Michael Hitz, an administrator at Historically Black College in Louisville, Kentucky, reportedly said in his 400-word comment left on a government website advocating for the proposed change. While reparations payment legislation has stalled in Congress, state and local governments continue to pursue the topic. Boston has appointed a task force to consider reparations. A county in Tennessee is reportedly considering using COVID relief funds for reparation programs. Evanston, Illinois is considered to have established America's first reparations program with its restorative housing reparations program, according to CNN. San Francisco city leadership has already unanimously voted to accept a draft plan for reparation. And we saw that didn't go very far, did it? Under the California city's plan, black residents of the city would receive a one-time payment of $5 million, complete and full forgiveness of their personal debt, and an annual income of $97,000 and the ability to buy a home within San Francisco limits for just $1. God damn it. So you get 5 million of them things, all your personal debt wiped out, and an annual income of 97 bands and $1 home. Sheesh. I'm moving to San Francisco. Fuck that. Call me Bashim Johnson. You call me Bashim Johnson. Yo, Bashim, what up, though? You say you got my check? Said I can come get my $1 house? Yo, I'm about to pull up. The plan has been stirring controversy since its inception. Even the San Francisco chapter of the NAACP rejected the NAACP said, "No, nigga, you can't get them niggas that kind of money." Arguing reparations should be made in the form of investments and opportunities, not cash payments. Yeah, invest in the NAACP. Don't get them niggas a damn dime. Oh man, we can't hustle this shit much longer. Polling shows that a majority of Americans don't support reparations. However, there are apparent differences in opinion on the topic across demographics. Pew Research Center data shows 77% of Black Americans are in favor of reparations, while only 18% of Caucasian Americans say the same. Shout out to Local 12 for the excellent article. We gonna take a quick break, gang, because I know we've been rushing through this, man. We gonna take our time with this bitch today. Oh, y'all getting time today. Oh, you niggas is getting time today. We gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Fair use.
Where did that come from?
A license plate says it's from the federal government.
Attention urban poor. The Federal Health Department, in conjunction with the Center for Minority Control, is here today with complimentary flu shots. Complimentary means free.
Oh, it's free?
Free needles?
God is good.
Hey, whoa. What the hell, Hop, are you people doing? Have you forgotten all your conspiracy learnings? Listen, the government uses projects to test all kinds of poisons. Syphilis, crack, the McChitlins.
Those chitlins made me mix sick.
Now you see what I'm talking about.
Hold on, everybody. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we, the people. I'm sure there's nothing to fear.
Thank you, Mrs. Stubbs.
How do you know my name?
Because we're your friend. Now come on over here and drop your pants.
No, Muriel, it's a trick.
It's just a flu shot. Don't listen to that fool.
Aha! Flu, F-L-U. Fool, F-U-L. Coincidence? I don't think so. Come on, people. Let's tell them they can take their flu shots and shove them up their Arsenio.
Yeah, just leave me my Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and Social Security, and I'll be fine with no help from nobody.
Fair use. Teachers steady lying to the kids. Keep it going. Ghetto presents. Ghetto Reacts presents.
Chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Damn.
And I'm all out of
don't understand is that if it's so offensive to them, then why
Fair
do they
use.
say it over again?
Why do they say it?
The N-word before you
He
did
says
that.
it every morning. He calls me nigga. Other kids nigga. He calls himself nigga. All the time. Nigga this, nigga that. Nigga please. Bitch nigga. Have you lost your mind? Nigga check that hoe. Nigga you bullshitting. Break yourself, nigga. He says it so much I don't even notice it anymore. Last week in lunch, Riley says to a classmate, can a nigga borrow a French fry? And my first thought wasn't, oh my God, he said the word, the N-word. It was now, how is a nigga gonna borrow a fry? Nigga, is you gonna give it back?
Is you finna pay back the fry, nigga?
Why inside voices?
Is you finna pay back the fries, nigga? Time.com. How Virginia used segregation law to erase Native Americans. I say again, how Virginia used segregation law to erase the Native Americans. Hey. My God. This is a photo, 1942, of a class in front of the Indian View Church, built in 1925 on Upper Mattaponi tribal lands. Yeah, they love building these churches and stuff right on the mounds. The mounds is right out the Bible. Build my altar with earth. Build my altars in the earth, bro. The Virginia Indians are the direct descendants of Chief Powhatan and went hundreds of years without federal recognition. On March 20th, 1924, the Commonwealth of Virginia enacted the nation's cruelest, most draconian segregation law designed to preserve white racial purity. The legislation became a model for states across the Jim Crow South and beyond. Oh, ghetto, this only affected Virginia. Shut your... You niggas are illiterate. Ghetto, you ain't gotta be so offensive. No, you niggas are illiterate for real. In the halls of Richmond's Capitol building, lawmakers congratulated themselves on passing the act to preserve racial integrity. And let me expound on that when I say that. There's a difference between ignorance and nescience. Ignorance means people have tried to bring me the information and I refuse to accept it because it goes outside of what I've already been taught. Nigga, I'm smarter than a 5th grader already. Miss Barbosa in my 5th grade class already told me I'm from Africa, nigga. She told me what the Indians look like already, nigga. You ain't smart, ghetto. You think you smart, nigga. You ain't smarter than Miss Barbarossa. Nigga, Miss Barbarossa ain't smarter than a 5th grader. How about that? How about that, nigga? In the halls of Richmond's Capitol building, lawmakers congratulated themselves on passing the act to preserve racial integrity, also known as the Racial Integrity Act. The act made it a felony to falsify the racial identity of an individual on birth, death, or marriage certificate, and banned marriages between whites and non-whites. Both offenses carried a sentence of 1 year in jail. So think about that. Even if you knew what your family was, even if you knew where your kinfolk came from, you had all the paperwork, you had the baptismal Bibles, you had your old family trees, you had all of the birth records and all of the death records and all of the marriage records and all of the military records and all of the tribal records of everyone in your kinfolk that come from that. That's all gone, nigga. And if you got the nerve to say you fucking Indian, nigga, we gonna throw your ass in the box. If we don't just flat out just give you a headshot, you'll get hit with headshots. Bow. Oppression and fear being used to terrorize people and force them out of their names, out of their language, out of their mores, out of their forays, out of their cultural norms, out of their history. Make them afraid to dress the way they used to talk and walk like they used to. Make them afraid to do those things. A year in jail or a mop top. Blagow. You decide. Some white Richmonders, though, weren't satisfied, quote unquote, white. Crayon colors. We got the crayon colors back. They worried about a loophole in the law that would dilute the purity of white blood. Now we talking about blood quantums. Leading white supremacists had wanted the Racial Integrity Act to solidify Virginia's black-white racial binary. Nigga, this shit is bigger than black and white. It's a problem with the whole way of life. To do so, they called for the act to erase the presence of native people. In the coming decades, some used the act to do just this, engaging in a form of bureaucratic genocide to recast native people as black, rendering them less visible in the historical record. The legacies of these policies endure to this day. Virginia's Racial Integrity Act belongs to a settler colonial tradition extending back to the early 1600s. Virginia's Racial Integrity Act belongs to a settler colonial tradition extending back to the early 1600s. In 1630, Hugh Davis, allegedly a white man, we're gonna look you up too, sir. We'll play this game. Received a public whipping for defiling his body by lying with a Negro. Over the ensuing decades, a similar case is prompted in Maryland and Virginia, 1661 and 1662 and 1691, respectively, to pass stricter laws against interracial marriage and cohabitation. Don't be shacking up. Oh, shacking up been going on a long time. Shacking up been going on a long time. Oldest business in business, nigga. How to define the progeny of interracial relations and marriage continued to vex lawmakers throughout the 18th century. So now we in the 1700s. In 1785, the Virginia's General Assembly passed a law that held every person who shall have 1/4 part or more Negro blood shall be deemed a mulatto. Oh, we gonna deal with that mulatto word. Ghetto, I'm still confused what this has to do with my greens, beans, potatoes, and tomatoes. Then shut this shit off, nigga, and go away. In 1910, new legislation redefined non-whites as people with 1/16 or more Negro blood. So even less quantum of your blood, boom, you're that. That's crazy. All the intermingling going on, all the, hey, damn, she look good, damn, he look nice, all that going on, all of the hankety-pankety, but now all of a sudden, oh, I gotta be 1/4, I have to have less than 1/4 blood of something, or I'm not who I say I am. And then in the 1900s, all the hankety-pankety, now you got European, now you got Spanish, now you got French, now you got Russian, now you got all these different type of bloods mixing together. So as long as you had 1/16, nigga, Negro blood, you're a Negro. That's it. You can't have no rights to your grandma land, no rights to your granddad's businesses, no rights to your grandma's properties, no rights to your granddad's properties, no rights to your grandma's slaves, you slave holding ass niggas trying to lie. You free Negro slave owners. But as white racial anxiety surged in the early 1930s, these older racial definitions failed to satisfy increasingly vocal, crayon-colored white racial extremists. They saw threats to white blood everywhere. One blood, one blood, one blood. Biggity. Whoop. Small but growing numbers of Asian immigrants sparked fears of a yellow peril, while swarthy multitudes from southern and eastern Europe caused growing concern among old stock Anglo-American swarthy Europeans. Oh, they talking my language. Swarthy Europeans. Not swarthy Europeans. Not swarthy Europeans. Oh, let me get this. Oh, I need that. Oh, nah, you ain't finna do that to me. I'll just say this right here. I'll come back for this later. Okay, I'll just get this now. Not swarthy Europeans. Not swarthy Europeans. Y'all, and I know, oh, ghetto, why you so stuck on that word swarthy? Because that means they are literally acknowledging dark-skinned Europeans who are coming over here. And the issues that even Ben Franklin spoke about with the overrunning of the numbers of the swarthy Germans. Why do we keep bringing these swarthy Germans here? Why don't we bring more people who look like us? Well, number one, there weren't that very many yet. Man, oh man, swarthy, brown skin, dark, copper colored. Europeans, swarthy multitudes from southern and eastern Europe caused a growing concern among old stock Anglo-American. My God. But it was the enemies within who truly terrified the defenders of white racial purity. Some claim to possess data proving that the mixed race or colored populations had grown by over 80% between 1890 and 1910. Was the American population becoming mongrelized? Yes, Benjamin Franklin used to call, we bring them mongrel niggas over here. The mongrel fucking Germans. We don't want none of them over here. France is too tawny. Italy's too tawny. We don't want none of them niggas over here. Ghetto, what you talking about? Benjamin Franklin never said that. Benjamin Franklin never said nothing like that. What are you talking about? Yo, Ghetto, you just be saying stuff. You just be saying stuff. Damn, they canceled the event. That sucks. Constructing the white race. Let's look at this real quick. Yo, Ghetto, I don't understand. Yo, Ghetto, do you spend any time doing anything else with your life? You just seem to be reading a lot. Yo, Ghetto, I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? JSTOR Daily from JSTOR Nonprofit Library for the Intellectually Curious. Shout to JSTOR. Constructing the white race. Politics and constructing the white race. Hold up, what you mean constructing the white race? The white race is that's just how people are born. Nah, nigga, this is some built in a shop nonsense. Shout to Matthew Wills, article from September 12th, 2016. The J icon indicates free access to the linked research on JSTOR. Isn't that beautiful? In 1751, Benjamin Franklin classified the world's population by color. They were black, tawny, swarty, and white complexioned peoples on the. There were black, tawny, swarty, and white complexioned peoples on the globe. Some will be surprised to discover Franklin listed the French, Germans, Russians, and Swedes, people from Sweden, among the swarty. The only whites, to his mind, were the English and the Saxons. The concept of whiteness has clearly changed since Franklin's Anglo-Saxon day. Indeed, the basis of critical whiteness studies, which began to burst out of the academy in the 1990s, is that all racial categories are historical and political constructions. The basis of critical whiteness studies, which began to burst out of the academy in the 1990s, is that all racial categories are historical and political constructions, far from objective, and certainly a long way from the discredited racial science of the 19th century. Books like How the Irish Became White, Making Whiteness, The Culture of Segregation in the South, How Jews Became White Folks, and What That Says About Race in America and the Wages of Whiteness, Race and the Making of the American Working Class have examined the social, cultural, and political organization and the categorization of the white race in history. Let me read those book titles again, just in case some people want to take notes and get smarter than a fifth grader. How the Irish Became White, Making Whiteness, The Culture of Segregation in the South, How Jews Became White Folks, and What That Says About Race in America, and The Wages of Whiteness, Race and the Making of the American Working Class. Have examined the social, cultural, and political organization and categorization of the quote-unquote white race in American history, which this article is clearly telling you is an invention. Invention, not even an old one. Initially, Irish, Slavs, Poles, Polish people. Come on now. We know Italians, Jews, Italians, Serbs, and other Southern and Eastern European immigrants were not quite white. What? I don't hear you, huh? Your mama told you what? Miss Barbosa in 5th grade said what to you? You got an A on your test in Miss Barbosa's class? Oh, so you smarter than a 5th grader, huh? Oh, you smarter than a 5th grader. You niggas ain't smart enough for 5th grade. Stop it, 5. I'm start calling you niggas 5. Stop it, 5. You ain't smart enough you ain't smarter than a 5. Chill out, 5. You ain't smarter than a 5th grader. Start calling you niggas fours. Chill, four. Relax, four. Because that's the last grade most of you niggas must have understood. This categorization expanded quite substantially after the Civil War. This categorization expanded quite substantially after the Civil War. So you mean, hold on, so we wasn't black and white before the Civil War? Hold on. But I thought we was fighting to free the blacks. Initially, Irish, Slavs, Poles, Jews, Italians, Serbs, and other Southern and Eastern European immigrants were not quite white. Yet in becoming American, they became white or Caucasian, a term that itself is a piece of historical baggage. Adapted from a German of the 1790s who believed the palest people came from the Caucasus. As Peter Culture notes, Americans have had many ways of looking down on people without questioning their whiteness. Yet whiteness has served to unify, a way of looking down on people who are not judged white. Yet whiteness has served to unify, a way of looking down on people who are not judged white. And what is white? Huh? What is white? What is white? I don't understand. What is white? What is it? What does it mean? You mean to tell me you niggas can't tell me what white means? You niggas is so unhelpful. So why don't we just pull up an excerpt from Black's Law Dictionary and see what it says? I'm with it. You with it? I'm with it. You niggas ain't got this much learning in your lives. Free white persons. A free white person referred to in the Naturalization Act as amended by July 4th, 1870. July 14th, 1870. Excuse me. Let me make this bigger for my bros and my woes. But before we do that, let's take a quick break. We will be right back, family.
He's looking for mature men. See, look right here. Casting for a black leading man, 50 and older. Light skin, good hair, must look nice shirtless, and not allergic to baby oil. That's me all day.
Don't you ever think you're too old to do some of that stuff you do?
Why can't I be a sex symbol? Why can't I be a heartthrob?
I say do it before it's too late, and it's gonna be too late real soon. So, yeah, hurry up.
Thank you, Riley. I'm gonna really let him have it. Show him my stuff. Give that man everything I got.
Pause.
Pause? Pause what?
You said something gay, so you gotta say no homo, or else you's a homo.
What did I say gay?
You said you was gonna give this dude everything you got, no homo.
That's not gay. I said I was gonna give the man everything I got.
Pause, Granddad. If it sound gay, it's gay, and you gotta say no homo. How I know you're not a homo, Granddad, if you don't say no homo?
I'm not saying no homo.
Okay, you wanna be a homo.
Stop calling your granddaddy a homo.
Then say no homo.
I don't wanna say no homo. I'm a homo your ass. You don't stop saying pause.
Pause.
Hey, are there gonna be some steamy scenes to look forward to, huh? Who's the lucky leading lady?
Actually, they haven't cast her yet. Probably, Sanaa, Latham, maybe Halle Berry. You know, somebody hot.
Man, stop lying. Granddad's leading lady is a dude.
What?
Shut up, boy. You don't know nothing.
We read the script, Granddad.
How dare you read that script? That's top secret.
It was really, really terrible, by the way. Don't front, Granddad. You playing a dude's boyfriend. It's that Winston Jerome guy in a dress, huh?
You mean Ma Dukes? You're playing Ma Dukes' boyfriend?
There's no love.
Damn, don't be playing my dude's boyfriend. That's crazy, but we back, gang. We back. Yeah. Yo, this is a lot of edification going on this morning. Don't be a hater. Support the movement. Whether you knew any of this, kind of thought some of this, wasn't sure about it, support the movement, gang. Your boy Ghetto out here working hard for you. Support the movement. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. All one word. Every $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, every $1,000 donation that you give helps us out greatly. So thank you so much for the $5. Give $5 if that's all you have. Give your $5. It's much appreciated and it helps keep this train rolling down the track. Give $10 if that's all you have, and it's so humbly appreciated. Give $20. Give $2. It's all good. It's appreciated and it helps keep the train going down the track. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. Free white persons, according to Black's Law Dictionary. This is the legal dictionary, attorney's reference. Free white persons referred to in the Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when it first was used in the first statute in one statute 103. Silly. I think I'll leave it right there. Meaning persons belonging to the European race, then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. Meaning all persons belonging to European races, then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants as in other countries to which they have immigrated. So would Swarty Germans, Swarty Italians, Swarty French, Swarty Slavs be considered white people, free white people? What? It includes all European Jews. So Sephardims. So this ain't got nothing to do with skin color, huh? More or less intermixed with the peoples of the Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Ibri, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes all European Jews, nigga. It includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basque and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal. Nigga, the Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal is this complexion. So a free white person has this complexion, according to the Law Dictionary? And the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slav and Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race. 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 Don't play like you don't see that. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Ex parte, and now it's showing you the legal cases that they've already had to apply that to. Ex parte, Shahid, United States versus Cartosian, showing you U.S. versus Javier. It's already showing you cases where it's applied. Nor a native of India who has belonged to the Hindu race. It's showing you more Ramsaras versus the United States and giving you the legal. You can literally look up the different legal cases and see where they've already applied this. Nor a native born Filipina. U.S. versus Javier. Gang, so don't tell me I still don't get it, ghetto. I still don't get it. I still don't get it. I still don't understand what you're saying here. Yeah, I know. Article continues. Times.com, Virginia Racial Integrity Act history, but it was the enemies within who truly terrified the defenders of white racial purity. Some claim to possess data proving that the mixed race populations had grown by over 80%. In Virginia, Anglo-Saxon clubs, white supremacist social organizations formed in the 1920s to lobby for stronger anti-miscegenation laws, meaning they didn't want all that booty clapping sounds to go on. Among the races answered the call. Their racial ideology combined with eugenics, or the belief that racial characterizations were inherited from one generation to the next, and long-standing racial prejudices against Black and Native Americans. The future of white supremacy seemed secure when the Racial Integrity Act became law in 1924. But for people like John Powell, a leading figure in the Anglo-Saxon clubs, a dangerous loophole remained. While the act clearly defined a white person as someone who has no trace whatsoever of any blood other than Caucasian, the Pocahontas Clause allowed for exceptions. The clause was a concession to prominent Virginia families who claimed descent from the 1614 marriage of the Pamunkey teenager and the English planter John Rolfe, who himself was a copper-colored man. Looked like this. Under the clause, these descendants enjoyed a white legal status if they had less than 1/16 Native American ancestry. For Virginia's Anglo-Saxon clubs, and how could they prove this? These dudes did not have labs to do blood. What do you tell? Oh, that nigga looked like he got born in the 16th. Nigga, where's a brown paper bag when I need it? Brown paper bag. Brown paper bag. Brown paper bag. Get some of that brown paper bag. Get some of that brown paper bag, money. For Virginia's Anglo-Saxon clubs, the Pocahontas Clause represented an open invitation for light-skinned African Americans. You see how this whole thing started out with people faking saying that these niggas is crazy, to try to pass as Indian or worse, white. Can't have you niggas passing. Walter Plecker agreed. Plecker despised the Pocahontas Clause and lobbied lawmakers for increasingly draconian segregation laws. Between 1912 and 1946, Plecker served as the Commonwealth's Registrar of Vital Statistics. My man, that's 34 years. Nigga was Charles Barkley in the paint. In this position, Plecker turned to old census records to rewrite history and prove that people claiming Indian blood were actually Negroes. Under Plecker's reign, Virginia reclassified hundreds of Virginia Indians going back to the 1850s from Indian to Negro. My God, for decades, Plecker bluffed, lied, and bullied local officials, midwives, educators, and married couples in his crusade to preserve white supremacy. Crayon-colored niggas. Plecker scrutinized every birth, death, and marriage certificate filed in Virginia. He often insisted that people who claimed Indian blood refile paperwork as Negro, because he believed Virginia's real Indians had vanished. If remnants remained, he often wrote they were likely Negroes in feathers. Hold up, so the Negroes was wearing feathers? Yo, Walter Plecker is out here throwing up alley-oops. Yo, what's going on with you Virginia Negroes in feathers, man? How come you Virginia Negroes was wearing feathers if y'all from Africa? Y'all had on feathers and fringes, but y'all from Ubuntu's Ireland? That's what you're trying to tell me? Shut the fuck up. Plecker's campaign to erase Virginia Indians took a particular interest in the Chickahominy. Plecker relied on rumors and innuendo to label the Chickahominy as mulattoes and lampooned Edward Bradby, the Chickahominy chief, as a mulatto and a fraud. My God. Said you was a fraud, sir. How you just gonna let him talk about you like that? Plecker also cast doubt on the indigeneity of the Pamunkey and the Mattaponi. So they weren't indigenous according to him. Since the 17th century, both communities lived in reservations east of Richmond. Still, Plecker believed that the people claiming Pamunkey and Mattaponi ancestry were more black than native. What, because they looked a certain way? When he learned that the Pamunkey had banned intermarriage with African Americans in 1887, he mocked the law, insisting that it was 200 years too late. No satisfying this nigga. Plecker's policing of the Racial Integrity Act created an atmosphere of fear among Virginia Indians. Across the Commonwealth, tightly knit kinship communities lived in fear of Plecker reclassifying them as black. Across the Commonwealth, tightly knit kinship communities lived in fear of Plecker reclassifying them as black. Why would they be scared of their own heritage? Why would they be scared to be reclassified as black if that's their heritage? Talk to me, man. Why would they be scared of their own heritage? Across the Commonwealth, tightly knit kinship community, family communities lived in fear. In other instances, indigenous families were divided by local registrars. Divided by local registrars. You mean they were separating the Indian families? Nah, this only happened to the Africans, bro. Y'all lying, time.com. Because I say y'all lying. I ain't got no evidence. I ain't got no proof. I ain't did no research. I ain't got no sources. I feel it in the air. I can hear it in your voice. Y'all niggas lying. Anyway, when a family member presented with darker skin, prompting a categorization as Negro. In other instances, indigenous families were divided by local registrars. You mean when they did censuses and stuff? When a family member presented with darker skin, prompting a categorization as Negro. Such people ran the risk of having their indigeneity defined out of existence by bureaucratic racism, paper genocide. You look black, nigga. You look African, boy. Woman, you look like you from Uganda. Plecker accelerated his campaign of bureaucratic genocide in the 1930s and 40s by continuing to reclassify native people as Negro. In the files of the Registrar of Vital Statistics. In 1930, his work received a boost when a revised Racial Integrity Act made it easier for the Registrar of the Vital Statistics to define out of existence native people who had one drop of quote-unquote crayon color, Crayola box, smarter than a fifth grader, black blood. Typical of Plecker's campaign of racial intimidation, he wrote to Mary F. Adkins, a midwife from Roxbury, Virginia, on January 13th, 1942. His letter cajoled and intimidated Miss Adkins, instructing her to stop issuing birth certificates because she was illiterate. Hold the fuck. She's issuing birth certificates, but she's illiterate. Make that make sense for me, sir. Plecker believed that the birth certificates submitted by Atkins must be forgeries and refused to approve them. At the conclusion of his letter, he got to the real point of his objection, asserting, "This Indian stuff has gone far enough, but I am not prepared just at the present to say what will be done to people to make some examples of people." Plecker's letters often concluded with vague yet ominous threats. "You threatening a medical professional who's using her medical know-how and medical knowledge to safely bring children into the world and then registering paperwork for them." Convinced of the righteousness of his cause, these niggas is always righteous, huh? These niggas serve shaitan. Let's go. Plecker never gave up his fight for white racial purity in Virginia. So again, Plecker, who's literally reaching out and telling, "Hey, I admire what y'all doing over there in Germany. I admire you Nazis." But he is lifted up and upheld as a great man here in America because they need to get rid of any trace of these niggas being Indian. We got to get it out of here. We can't have these people having claims on the land. None of that. Prior to his retirement in 1946, less than 100 years ago, he expressed continued alarm at the presence of mulattoes or colored people in the Commonwealth. He don't even want y'all niggas there. And he had nothing but contempt for a growing body of scholarship that emerged in the 1940s and highlighted the social benefits of multicultural and racial diversity. Such authors, Plecker insisted, were freaks who'd been misled by communistic resources and foreign college professors. He said, "You niggas is Marxist. You niggas is Marxist left-wing Democrats." Not until 1967, when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled anti-miscegenation laws unconstitutional in Loving v. Virginia, did the legal foundations for white supremacy in Virginia crumble. But as Black and Native Virginians know, the massive resistance of whites to civil rights reforms and diversity initiatives between the 50s and 70s represented an ongoing reminder of the Racial Integrity Act's enduring legacy. Indeed, since the 1980s, the efforts of Virginia's tribal communities to attain state and federal recognition routinely encountered roadblocks caused by the absence of archival records and documents altered by Plecker and his staff. So because Plecker and his staff were allowed to alter their records, you won't give these people tribal recognition. This is crazy. In the case of the Pamunkey Indian tribe, it took 25 years for the tribe to gain federal recognition through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. For a further 6 tribes and nations of Virginia, it took congressional legislation before they won federal recognition. This is taking too long, and people are not getting their rights. People are passing away, and their heritage and ancestry is dying with each elder that lives, that moves on to the other side. And then you got niggas screaming and yelling, "We from Africa." These white devils owe us money. A century after the passage of the Racial Integrity Act, Virginia's Indian communities haven't forgotten the dark days of Jim Crow racism. They haven't had the luxury, as Lynette Alston, chief of the Nottoway Indian tribe of Virginia, reminded us recently. The Racial Integrity Act engendered so much fear in the tribal communities that it meant indigenous people lived so quietly, we had to live secretly. This, Alston adds, was an act of survival. Yeah, get thrown in jail, catch a headshot, or never admit who you truly are. Acts that make it possible for Virginia Indians to reclaim their identities and sovereignty in the 21st century. Crazy. Guys, what else is there to say about this? And I feel that needed to be understood before we could move up to this other stuff. We can't move on to other stuff until we understand this. This is encyclopediavirginia.org. Primary documents, colored persons and Indians defined. Context. In Colored Persons and Indians Defined from the Code of Virginia, 1930, the General Assembly provides legal definitions of colored persons and Indians. This was one of 3 so-called racial integrity laws passed between 24 and 30 in Virginia. Every person, Section 67, Colored Persons and Indians Defined. Every person in whom I'm gonna read it directly from the Colored Persons and Indians Defined. Every person in whom there is ascertainable any Negro blood shall be deemed and taken to be a colored person. Bro, this is crazy. And every person not a colored person having 1/4 or more American Indian blood shall be deemed as American Indian, except that members of Indian tribes living on reservations allotted them by the Commonwealth of Virginia having 1/4 or more Indian blood and less than 1/16 Negro blood shall be deemed tribal Indians so long as they are domiciled on said reservations. So if you live on a reservation and you have less than 1/16 Negro blood, whatever the fuck that means, nigga, you can be Indian. If you have 1/4 or more American Indian blood, you can be American Indian too. But if you got 1/16, nigga, you a Negro, nigga. You a Negro. As the section read in the Code of 1877, persons having 1/4 or more Negro blood were deemed colored, while under the Code of 1924, every person having 1/16 or more of Negro blood was deemed colored. I mean, it wasn't niggers, it was colored. Stupid. The amendment of 1930 also added the last provision. In McPherson versus Commonwealth 28, it was held that a woman whose father was white and whose mother's father was white and whose great-grandmother was of brown complexion was not a Negro in the sense of this section as it was in 1877, cited in Moon versus Children's Home. And they showing you more legal cases where these have been cited. Are you not? Sir, support the movement, man. We out here doing work. We out here doing work. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. $ his ghetto point of view. Don't forget, initially Irish, Slavs, Polish people, Jews, Italians, Serbs, and other Southern and Eastern Europeans were not white. Don't forget it. Benjamin Franklin made this clear. He was very upset about all these swarthy Europeans coming and taking over America. And this was before the Civil War. So then who actually fought in the Civil War? Was it people that look like you and me? But we'll get to that. We still gonna deal with this. We're gonna deal with Walter Plecker. Fair use.
This is Another View.
Hi everyone and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Tonight a lesson on the Cherokee Indian tribe and how a man named Walter forever changed the relationship between Native Americans and African Americans in Southampton County, Virginia. Please welcome to Another View Chief Walt Red Hawk Brown, Chief of the Cherokee Nottoway tribe, William Lamb Spread Eagle Howell, War Chief of the tribe, and Dr. Tommy Bozier, historian at Norfolk State University. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Bob. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, I wanted, before we get into the details of Mr. Plecker and kind of what happened, because basically your tribe has experienced what's some called documentary genocide. Tell us a little bit about the beginning of the tribe.
Well, as you're aware, in 1912, Dr. Walter Plecker became the first director. Prior to that, there were no birth certificates, and he was a director up until.
Go to work, Walter Red Hawk Brown.
Go to work. By A. Reddix and Associates, a healthcare management consulting firm bridging the gap between healthcare policy and the community through education, training, and outreach. Find out more at ardx.net. Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Tonight, a lesson on the Cherenhaka Nottoway Indian tribe and how a man named Walter Ashby Plecker forever changed the relationship between Native Americans and African Americans in Southampton County, Virginia. Please welcome to Another View Chief Walt Red Hawk Brown, Chief of the Cherenhaka Nottoway tribe, William Lamb Spread Eagle Howell, War Chief of the tribe, and Dr. Tommy Bozier, historian at Norfolk State University. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Bob. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, I wanted, before we get into the details of Mr. Plecker and kind of what happened, because basically your tribe has experienced what's some called documentary genocide. Tell us a little bit about the relationship between Native Americans and African Americans in Southampton County, Virginia. Please welcome to Another View Chief Walt Red Hawk Brown, Chief of the Cherenhaka Nottoway tribe, William Lamb Spread Eagle Howell, War Chief of the tribe, and Dr. Tommy Bozier, historian at Norfolk State University. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, Bob. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, I wanted, before we get into the details of Mr. Plecker and kind of what happened, because basically your tribe has experienced what's some called documentary genocide. Tell us a little bit about the beginning of the tribe.
Well, as you're aware, in 1912, Dr. Walter Plecker became the first director of the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Prior to that, there were no birth certificates, and he was a director up until the 1940s, 1946, until his death. But he was part of the eugenics movement, which was a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and called colored. But he went beyond board on that, wherein as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930 that people such as myself that are first Americans and Native Americans, that he considered us as being bastards, that we were just trying to be Indian to marry into the white race. What's so interesting about that was that in the 30s, he gave a presentation in New York City and on eugenics, and there were commanders associated with Adolf Hitler that attended that particular meeting.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed.
Prior to that, there were no birth certificates, and he was a director up until the 1940s, 1946, until his death. But he was part of the eugenics movement, which was a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and called colored. But he went beyond board on that, wherein as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930 that people such as myself that are first Americans and Native Americans, that he considered us as being bastards, that we were just trying to be Indian to marry into the white race. What's so interesting about that was that in the 30s, he gave a presentation. As you're aware, in 1912, Dr. Walter Plecker became the first director of the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Prior to that, there were no birth certificates, and he was a director up until the 1940s, 1946, until his death. But he was part of the eugenics movement, which was a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and called colored. But he went beyond board on that, wherein as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930. And he was a director up until the 1940s, 1946, until his death. But he was part of the eugenics movement.
The only thing I don't agree with the chief on is that there were no birth certificates or records being kept of people's births. That's just not 100% accurate. Perhaps his tribe wasn't, but other tribes were. Let's keep it going. Remember, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of individual tribes here in the Americas who all had their own things going on. Some kept records better than others. Some didn't keep any records at all. Let's keep going.
Which is a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and call colored. But he went beyond board on that, wherein as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930 that people such as myself that are first Americans and Native Americans, that he considered us as being bastards, that we were just trying to be Indian to marry into the white race. What's so interesting about that was that in the 30s, he gave a presentation in New York City and on eugenics, and there were commanders associated with Adolf Hitler that attended that particular meeting.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
Well, it was referred to as colored. And
right.
Basically, all
it wasn't
the tribes
referred to as African American back then.
Okay.
It was referred to as colored. So all you niggas talking about you from Africa, no, nigga, you from colored. Because that's what your race was, nigga. You from colored. So you tell me what part of Africa is colored, nigga, and then maybe we can have a fucking conversation. Shut up.
Then after the but he
colored
went
land.
beyond board on that, wherein, as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930 that people such as myself that are first Americans and Native Americans, that he considered us as being bastards, that we were just trying to be Indian to marry into the white race. What's so interesting about that was that in the 30s, he gave a presentation in New York City and on eugenics, and there were commanders associated with Adolf Hitler that attended that particular meeting.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
Well, it was referred to as colored. And basically all the tribes in Virginia in the early 1900s were referred to as colored, okay? Then after the 1924 Racial Integrity Act, everything that was in that colored bowl became Negro, okay? And that's one of the reasons why in 1968 the Supreme Court overthrew that Racial Integrity Act.
It went from Indians to coloreds to Negroes to black to African American. It went from Indians to being classified as colored, to being classified as Negro, to being classified as African American. Then they were classified as black. Excuse me, Negro to black, black then to African American. Excuse me.
And gave Native Americans the right, if they were born before July 1960, to come forward to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and correct those records that had been changed.
But now your tribe was in Southampton County, well before all of this. When he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
Well, it was referred to as colored. And basically all the tribes in Virginia in the early 1900s were referred to as colored, okay?
All the tribes were referred to as colored.
Everything that was in that colored bowl became Negro.
Then everything that was in the colored bowl went to Negro.
In 1968, the Supreme Court overthrew that Racial Integrity Act and gave Native Americans the right, if they were born before July 1960, to come forward to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and correct those records that had been changed.
But now your tribe was in Southampton County, well before all of this.
Of course.
Okay.
Matter of fact, our history really dates back, according to some archaeologists, to 900 AD. But we have a archaeological dig that was done in Southampton County.
They go back as far as 900 AD, nigga.
Eugenics, and there were commanders associated with Adolf Hitler that attended that particular meeting.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
Well, it was referred to as colored, and basically all the tribes in Virginia in the early 1900s were referred to as colored. Okay, then after the 1924 Racial Integrity Act, everything that was in that colored bowl became Negro. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why in 1968 the Supreme Court overthrew that Racial Integrity Act and gave Native Americans the right, if they were born before July 1960, to come forward to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and correct those records that had been changed.
Now, your tribe was in Southampton County, well before all of this.
Of course.
Okay.
Matter of fact, our history really dates back, according to some archaeologists, to 900 AD. But we have a archaeological dig that was done in Southampton County, which dates back, carbon dated, to
But now your tribe was in Southampton County, well before all of this.
Of course.
Okay.
Matter of fact, our history really dates back, according to some archaeologists, to 900 AD. But we have a archaeological dig that was done in Southampton County, which dates back, carbon dated, to 1580. In that particular dig, it's called the hand site dig, and it's called catalog 44SN22. 131 skeletal remains of my ancestors were dug up, and they're now laying in shoe boxes in the Smithsonian. One of the goals that we have with our Kidz town that we're putting together is to have those reinterred, brought back to the county.
Imagine if the Smithsonian or some other major museum just had all your ancestors' bones in shoe boxes. You didn't get to properly bury them or nothing. Or if they did bury them, they dug up the mounds. They dug up their grave sites. They dug up and excavated these graves. Instead of excavating it and then giving it to you guys, no, they were going to put it in a museum. So now people can come pay them to come learn about your family. Seems reasonable. Let's get going.
But what's so interesting about that is that one of the grave remains has been carbon dated to be a colonial lady, about 25, 26 years old. And in her grave, it was 6 foot buried, 6 foot down. There was her sewing kit, her comb, and also the scissors, which are on file at the Department of Historical Resources in Richmond, Virginia. So the history is documented. We are the only tribe in the Commonwealth of Virginia that ever had a gubernatorial mandated special census. As you know, the census is done every year starting 1790, every 10 years. There was a special census done in Southampton County in Cortland, Virginia, at that time was called Jerusalem, wherein the trustees of the reservation went out and actually recorded.
Cortland, Virginia at that time was called Jerusalem, Virginia, guys. Don't let that shit go over your head. It was called Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Virginia. All right, then. Keep cooking, sir.
Special census. As you know, the census is done every year starting 1790, every 10 years. There was a special census done in Southampton County in Cortland, Virginia, at that time was called Jerusalem, wherein the trustees of the reservation went out and actually, which are on file in the Department of Historical Resources in Richmond, Virginia. So the history is documented. We are the only tribe in the Commonwealth of Virginia that ever had a gubernatorial mandated special census. As you know, the census is done every year starting 1790, every 10 years. There was a special census done in Southampton County in Cortland, Virginia, at that time was called Jerusalem, wherein the trustees of the reservation went out and actually recorded the names of individuals living on the reservation, even though they didn't document everybody living there because they coined this term matrilineal. And if the woman was a mulatto, or if the woman was referred to as free people of color, and if the male was a Cherokee Nottoway, they didn't count the children. So they coined matrilineal instead of patrilineal. But the history is very rich there in Southampton County.
Now, War Chief Howell, if someone looked at you right now, they would say that you were African American, would they not? Now, your grandfather, though, was supposed to have been, according to records.
Well, he was.
Oh, he was the last. Well, no, but according to, he wasn't the last of the Nottoway, of the Cherokee Nottoway tribe, though. Tell us about him.
Well, my grandfather.
So I love how these people from Virginia will tell you that you are of your father's seed. This is bad. I'm going to get thrown off YouTube. This man's father was listed as the last of his Indian tribe. How can his father be the last of their tribe if he's born? But they've done this so many times. They did this with Old Dirty Bastard, R.I.P. to him, to his family. There's people in his family that they called the last of the tribe. But Old Dirty Bastard was born and he has tons of kids. Old, you know what I mean? Young Dirty, all that. So how could those Indians not still exist? The Indian that sold Manhattan to the blacks, that's grandfather. The Indian that sold Manhattan to the blacks, that's grandfather. The Indian that sold Manhattan to the blacks, that's my grandfather. He told you, you didn't listen.
Now, War Chief Howell, if someone looked at you right now, they would say that you were.
Yeah, because we got a lot of lookership going on. Walter Pleckerty ass. Somebody look at you, they gonna say you a ham? Because they named you Ham? Ghetto, that's wrong. Ghetto, why you going there? Ghetto, her name is Ham. I did not name her Ham. She proudly says her name is Ham. Okay? I did not name her that. Let's keep going.
So quiet. My grandfather, he passed away.
Now, your grandfather, though, was supposed to have been.
Okay, excuse me, his grandfather.
So he was.
Oh, he was the last. Well, no, but according to
He
he wasn't the last
Right,
of the
exactly,
Nottoway, of the Cherahaka Nottoway tribe, though. Tell us about him.
Well, my grandfather, he passed away in 1960, and I was born in 1947, and he married.
This is William Spread Eagle Howell, the war chief of the Cherahaka Nottoway tribe. Everybody goes, I'm Cherokee Indian. Oh, my grandmother told me I got some Cherokee. I need to really learn about the names of these tribes and the tribes you may actually be from, and stop with the silliness. Come on, y'all. We too grown. Everybody was, oh, we grown, we can do what we want, we grown. But you can't be Indian. Your punk ass won't be Indian, though. You can do what you want. Yeah, you can let 1,000 dudes put their stuff around you, but you'll never claim your Indian heritage. You dudes will walk around with your pants sagging and handkerchiefs of various colors out your pocket, but what you won't do is say you're a native of this land and you want your land back. That's where the toughness stops. All that boxing and stuff. The toughness stops at trying to get your land back. Then it's, oh, we gotta give peace a chance and all that shit. Then the tough guy stuff stop. The tough guy stuff stop at beating on one another. The bully coon stops right there. You niggas is pussy.
There was a black woman, and they had one child, which was my mother. But I had a chance to meet him, and because I was a young fellow when he passed away, and he was kind of a quiet man. He didn't hardly say anything, and now it's coming clear as why he was so quiet. Because what happened to his people?
Yeah, they're living quiet, living silent.
Did he talk to you
like the articles
about your heritage?
No. Yeah, I used to ask my mother, I said, why is my grandfather so quiet? He never had much to say. And it's coming pretty clear to me as why he was so quiet.
Because at that time, they did not talk about being Indians because you could be jailed, correct?
Exactly. There was a lot of bad things that could have happened to you if you were native and if you were caught off the reservation. In some cases, you could be shot on sight. Okay, but getting back to William Lamb, who Paramore and Floyd Painter, Paramore wrote the history of South Hampton County, said was the last Cherokee Nottoway riding a bicycle in court. And again, we know that was not true because William Lamb Howell, who was my war chief, is his grandson. But that's typical of what happened to first Americans in the Commonwealth. How things were done to actually change, not only to change one's race, but to change one's ethnicity, to take away their traditions, to take away their cultures, etc. And I'd like to go back to the 1808 Cherokee Nottoway Indian census to my fifth foster great-grandmother, who was Queen Edith Turner. Her name was really Wane Runsira, but the whites called her Turner. And the names...
They called her Queen Egypt Turner? Interesting. Why they threw Egypt in there? Because they know. We the ones that don't know nothing. They know.
so quiet. He never had much to say. And it's coming pretty clear to me as why he was so quiet.
Because at that time, they did not talk about being Indians because you could be jailed, correct?
Exactly. There was a lot of bad things that could have happened to you if you were native and if you were caught off the reservation. In some cases, you could be shot on sight. Okay. But getting back to William Lamb, who Paramore and Floyd Painter, Paramore wrote the history of Southampton County, said was the last Chernock-Anotaway riding a bicycle in Cortland. Again, we know that was not true because William Lamb Howard, who was my war chief, is his grandson. But that's typical of what happened to first Americans in the Commonwealth. How things were done to actually change, not only to change one's race, but to change one's ethnicity, to take away their traditions, to take away their cultures, etc. And I'd like to go back to the 1808 Chernock-Anotaway Indian census to my fifth foster great-grandmother, who was Queen Edith Turner. Her name was really Wane Runsira, but the whites called her Turner. And the names, the colonial names, were given to us the same basically as the slave mentality.
The slaves were,
If your mother was a slave and living on a reservation, that means your child was a slave and that you took on the name of the master. So what had happened with native people, we didn't have colonial names. We had native names. My fourth great-grandmother's name was Carahoot. That was her native name. But when they did the census, they pinned her as being Mary Polly Whitson, who married Pearson's Turner and became Mary Turner and went over to Artistown in 1825, along with the Bozeman, the Browns, the Artists, the Boones, and the Whitsons, and just stayed there until the early 1990s.
So if you look at the records, then you would think that there would be no Indians in Southampton County, of Chernock-Anotaway Indians. But we know that there are. So when did this shift change for people to start researching and accepting their native heritage?
Well, I give you an example of my family. My grandfather had 18 kids, okay? And he always shared with us our native heritage. His wife was Ophelia Rogers. That was my father's mother. She was the daughter of Alex Rogers, that is listed on the 1808 Chernock-Anotaway Indian census, who was tried for murder in 1820 and found guilty of second-degree murder. Did 12 years of hard labor, got out, and went into Nansemond County, married, and went over to Hertford County. But at that time, native people could not testify for each other. I have the whole court case. It was really self-defense. Now, native people, my people, were classified as mulatto. Okay. Now that was a term that not necessarily mean half white, half black, or half Indian, half white, or half Indian, half black. It was a term that the colonials created back in the early 1700s, and in reality, in many cases, it means purebred Native American. And that term mulatto, I mean, the first one was 1824, the first Racial Integrity Act, 1824, and then 1924 was the last one in Virginia that was brought about during the plecurism. So when you're doing genealogical searches, unless you can talk to your ancestors, your parents, your grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and I tell people when I do presentations, talk to your people and ask, from whence came I? So I can know how far I still have to go. With us our native heritage. His wife was Ophelia Rogers. That was my father's mother. She was the daughter of Alex Rogers, that is listed on the 1808 Chernock-Anotaway Indian census, who was tried for murder in 1820 and found guilty of second-degree murder. Did 12 years of hard labor, got out, and went into Nansemond County, married, and went over to Hertford County. But at that time, native people could not testify for each other. I have the whole court case. It was really self-defense. Now, native people, my people, were classified as mulatto. Okay. Now that was a term that not necessarily mean half white, half black, or half Indian, half white, or half Indian, half black. It was a term that the colonials created back in the early 1700s, and in reality, in many cases, it means purebred Native American.
You heard the man.
My father's mother.
That motherfucker be talking mulatto shit. Y'all
daughter of Alex Rogers, that is listed on the 1808 Chernock-Anotaway Indian census, who was tried for murder in 1820 and found guilty of second-degree murder. Did 12 years of hard labor, got out, and went into Nansemond County, married, and went over to Hertford County. But at that time, native people could not testify for each other. I have the whole court case. It was really self-defense. Now, native people, my people, were classified as mulatto. Okay. Now that was a term that not necessarily mean half white, half black, or half Indian, half white, or half Indian, half black. It was a term that the colonials created back in the early 1700s, and in reality, in many cases, it means purebred Native American.
Teaching steady.
And that term mulatto, I mean, the first one was 1824, the first Racial Integrity Act, 1824, and then 1924 was the last one in Virginia that was brought about during the Plechorism. So when you're doing genealogical searches, unless you can talk to your ancestors, your parents, your grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and I tell people when I do presentations, talk to your people and ask from whence came I, so I can know how far I still have to go, okay? Because Go ahead.
Let me ask Dr. Bozier. Talk to me about the relationship then, as Indians started to assimilate into other cultures because they weren't recognized on their own. What was happening back then?
Yes, and especially when I was growing up, there was standoffish between the Indian Native American community and the African American community because of what had happened to them with past relationships, and the Plecker and Dr. Plecker's very active role in the 1920s. So there was, and of course that has always been the case in the history of any organization. The majority group tend to divide those those minorities and keep them separated.
The majority group divided the minorities and kept them separated. It's so sad. Sir, you clearly are of some native stock, but that's okay. They'll put you in a suit and give you a check at a university, and you'll come here and say whatever your daddy tells you to say. Let's keep going.
But is the relationship any better? Has it changed?
Sure, the relationship is better. A lot of us as first Americans were amalgamated into schools for free people of color. Okay, I remember my first time going to school. I walked 2.5 miles a day round trip to a school called Diamond Grove School, founded in 1919 under the Rose Wall. Okay, it was another school that my parents and them went to out of Artisttown. Then it became the Rose Wall School in 1919. It ended in 1957. Okay, so I had to walk to this school, and I walked back and forth. So it's an amalgamation not only between free people of color and native people. There was an amalgamation also between colonials. I mean, that happened. Matter of fact, that was one of the things that William Byrd, who was involved in the dividing line between Virginia and North Carolina, and Alexander Spotswood was trying to amalgamate native people with other races to get rid of the Indians. Now, when you look at the Byrd papers, and you would read his diary on April the 7th, 1728, he actually visited our reservation in Jerusalem, Cortland, Virginia. And what's so interesting about that, he described how our people look. He said the young men came out and their faces were painted and they made all kinds of grotesque figures and they danced for him to the sound of a gore drum stretched tight with an animal skin. Then he said the young women came out and they were tall and shapely and dressed in their finery. Their hair was braided, and they had white and blue conch shells in their hair that hung like locks and around their neck. And then they had wrapped around their body a match coat, which was red and blue, which is a shawl, that fitted loosely about their body, that their mahogany skin shone through. Then he went. Let me get this. He went on to say that these dark angels would make exceptional wives for the English planters, and their dark skin would bleach out in 2 generations. Unquote. That's a quote that he made.
So that was the whole goal, was to try to bleach out, as they say.
Yeah, but it kind of tells you that first Americans were a rich brown people. They were mahogany in color.
How many Cherokee and Nottoway Indians are there today?
We have 282 in our tribe.
282.
That can do a paper trail from a genealogical aspect back to an ethno-historic Cherokee and Nottoway Indian surname. That's the only. If you read the Constitution and bylaws on our website, the only way you can join the tribe. You can't say, "Well, I'm Cherokee and Nottoway. I got the blood. I'm going to join the tribe." You have to show us a paper trail.
You have to be able to trace it.
Yeah.
Now, and Dr. Bozier, I want to turn to you on this part, because if the records say, you know, the birth certificate says Negro, the marriage certificates, et cetera, how do you work past that to prove the
the government is very sympathetic today in light of what happened to the Native Americans in the 1920s in Virginia in particular. So the federal government and even the state, well, at least the state government is very, very sympathetic about that. But I think there's still a pushback as far as the federal government is concerned in extending recognition to them. And even as I've done research in the various county censuses over the years, I had a very frustrating time in coming across some people who identified as free black in one instance and even white in other instances. Very seldom are they designated as Native.
Did you just hear what he said? The same person, when he do his research, can be classified as a free Negro or free black on one census or one set of papers, then he'll do more research, and that same person on another census or other set of government paperwork will be identified as a white person. This was going on all the time, but they would do everything in their power not to identify you as an Indian. Let's keep it going.
Americans were a rich brown people. They were mahogany in color.
How many Cherokee and Nottoway Indians are there today?
We have 282 in our tribe.
282.
That can do a paper trail from a genealogical aspect back to an ethno-historic Cherokee and Nottoway Indian surname. That's the only. If you read the Constitution and bylaws on our website, the only way you can join the tribe, you can't say, "Well, I'm Cherokee and Nottoway, I got the blood, I'm going to join the tribe." You have to show us a paper trail.
You have to be able to trace it.
Yeah.
Now, and Dr. Bourgeois, I want to turn to you on this part, because if the records say, you know, the birth certificate says Negro, the marriage certificates, et cetera, how do you work past that to prove the
the government is very sympathetic today in light of what happened to the Native Americans in the 1920s in Virginia in particular. So the federal government and even the state, well, at least the state government is very, very sympathetic about that. But I think there's still a pushback as far as the federal government is concerned and extending recognition to them. And even as I've done research in the various county censuses over the years, I had a very frustrating time in coming across some people who identified as free black in one instance and even white in other instances.
You heard him say it. The same people would be identified as free black in one instance and white in another instance. But I thought it was about skin tone. No, you dudes have been lied to.
You know, the birth certificate says Negro,
have been lied to.
That he made.
So that was the whole goal, was to try to bleach out, as they say.
Yeah, but it kind of tells you that first Americans were a rich brown people. They were mahogany in color.
How many Cherokee and Nottoway Indians are there today?
We have 282 in our tribe.
282.
That can do a paper trail from a genealogical aspect back to an ethno-historic Cherokee and Nottoway Indian surname. That's the only. If you read the Constitution and bylaws on our website, the only way you can join the tribe, you can't say, "Well, I'm Cherokee and Nottoway, I got the blood, I'm going to join the tribe." You have to show us a paper trail.
You have to be able to trace it.
Yeah.
Now, and Dr. Bourgeois, I want to turn to you on this part, because if the records say, you know, the birth certificate says Negro, the marriage certificates, et cetera, how do you work past that to prove the
the government is very sympathetic today in light of what happened to the Native Americans in the 1920s in Virginia in particular. So the federal government and even the state, well, at least the state government is very, very sympathetic about that. But I think there's still a pushback as far as the federal government is concerned and extending recognition to them. And even as I've done research in the various county censuses over the years, I had a very frustrating time in coming across some people who identified as free black in one instance and even white in other instances. Very seldom are they designated as Native Americans, but you see that and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And I know some families who are present-day families to the Native Americans in the 1920s in Virginia in particular. So the federal government and even the state, well, at least the state government is very, very sympathetic about that. But I think there's still a pushback as far as the federal government is concerned and extending recognition to them. And even as I've done research in the various county censuses over the years, I had a very frustrating time in coming across some people who identified as free black in one instance and even white in other instances. Very seldom are they designated as Native Americans, but you see that and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And I know some families who are present-day families, well, I won't mention family, but because those families are descendants that I know, it probably was a Native American aspect to that confusion
to the family
in the early 19th century. Yes.
What you have state recognition?
Yes, we have state recognition.
About that, but I think there's still a pushback as far as the federal government is concerned and extending recognition.
The federal government is still pushing back on giving Indians their actual rights. To think about that.
definition to them. And even as I've done research in the various county censuses over the years, I had a very frustrating time in coming across some people who identified as free black in one instance and even white in other instances. Very seldom are they designated as Native Americans, but you see that and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And I know some families who present day families, well, I won't mention family, but because those families are descendants that I know, it probably was a Native American aspect to that confusion
to the family
in the early 19th century. Yes,
exactly. What you have state recognition?
Yes, we have state recognition,
and you're going for federal. Okay,
working on federal recognition.
And if you get federal recognition, what does that mean for the tribe?
Well, that provides some additional resources as far as grant dollars and funding for education, etc., and also for starting businesses. State recognition, the way it stands now, basically gives us additional access to grants for schools that were originally founded for Native Americans. And I can say this too, also Hampton University, and Hampton University was the second school in the Commonwealth outside of William and Mary and the Brafferton in 1711 that amalgamated Native Americans. They had some 55 different tribes there from 1885 up until 1926. Matter of fact, those buildings and part of the land that Hampton University sits on was given free gratis by an anonymous donor out of Boston.
But you know what's really interesting? We called Hampton University because we knew that they had the school, and their response and why they didn't want to come on the show was that they felt that they didn't have enough of the history to be able to speak about it.
Well, I would debate with them on that because there are a number of books that have been written on it, and actually I have a list of all the tribes that attended Hampton University during that period. And
go ahead.
The cemetery out there.
The cemetery out there
will tell you quite a bit. Yes,
exactly.
Okay, I want to get to some of the regalia that you're wearing and so forth. I want to ask War Chief Howell, first of all, what exactly is a war chief? What do you do?
The war chief is like a security officer. You know, anything going on in the tribe wrong, I step in and handle it. If anyone,
the sheriff for the
if they can't do their job, I have to be able to step in and do anybody's job in the tribe.
Or the vice president.
In the absence of the chief, if he can't make it, I step in his absence and do his job.
So he's like a vice president
so my job is
secretary
like a officer
of the secretary of the war cabinet.
He's a negotiator also. In case we have problems.
Is there a meaning to the feathers in your headwear?
Well, the Chief Brown have done the research.
He's wearing a Gustoa.
Okay.
In our Iroquois language, we say Gustoa, and
cooking.
And actually, I have a list of all the tribes that attended Hampton University during that period. And
go ahead.
The cemetery out there.
The cemetery out there
will tell you quite a bit. Yes,
exactly.
Okay, I want to get to some of the regalia that you're wearing and
Before they continue on, he brought up Colonel William Byrd and Colonel William Byrd's going into the Virginia territories many years ago. So I wanted to read from the writings of Colonel William Byrd of Westover in Virginia. Oh, I'm sorry.
They did not.
Sorry, wrong thing, family. Wrong thing. Let me stop sharing that. Let me pull this up. Writings of Colonel William Byrd. Add to the stage. Let's go. All right, then. So the writings of Colonel William Byrd. No, I can't do it that way. I wanted to, let me see. The way I wanted to do it, it won't work. All right, let me see. Present, share. Well, I mean, it's small enough. I imagine I could just, hold on, gang. hold on. If this don't work, then I'll go to these other things. So this is from the section known as the dividing line, because it's a excerpt, group of different, I guess, journal entries. Let's start at page. We'll start at the bottom of page 6, just so we can kind of get some context. The ships that carried them made a shift to find a more direct way to Virginia and ventured through the Capes into the Bay of Chesapeake. Y'all can see that, right? Beautiful, beautiful. I'll take it back one because y'all can see that. The same night, they came to an anchor at the mouth of Powhatan, the same as James River, where they built a small fort at a place called Point Comfort. You see, because this is what you're supposed to do. You ain't supposed to just Google, and I'm only doing this because this is something I'm have more expertise or experience in. Just like more people may have more expertise than me than real estate or building up corporate conglomerates. People might have more experience than me in the sneaker game. People might have more experience than me in fashion. You know what I mean? I does this, and y'all Negroes, if y'all want to learn how to does this properly, need to, you know what I mean, put yourself under the tutelage of somebody who might do it a slightly better. Just like when I want to learn things, I have to humble myself and put myself under the tutelage of people who know how to do it. As Jay Electronica says, if you want to be a master in life, you must submit to a master. And I am far from a master, but I am just humble enough to put myself at the feet of some very knowledgeable people. So this continues again. This is the writings of Colonel William Byrd of Westover in Virginia. The settlement stood its ground from that time forward in spite of all the blunders and disagreement of the first adventurers and the many calamities that befell the colony afterwards. The 6 gentlemen who were first named of the company by the crown and who were empowered to choose an annual president from among themselves, so were always engaged in factions and quarrels. It's like a game of Survivor or Big Brother. At this rate, the colony must have come to nothing had it not been for the vigilance and bravery of Captain Smith, who struck a terror into all Indians round about. This gentleman took some pains to persuade the men to plant Indian corn, but they looked upon all labor as a curse. They didn't want nothing to do with that native stuff. They chose rather to depend on the musty provisions that were sent from England. That's disgusting. And when they failed, they were forced to take more pains to seek for wild fruits in the woods, and they would have taken in tilling the ground. Besides this, exposed them to be knocked on the head by the Indians, and gave them fluxes into the bargain, which thinned the plantation very much. To supply this mortality, they were reinforced the year following with a greater number of people, amongst which were fewer gentlemen and more laborers, slaves, who, however, took care not to kill themselves with work. Where did they get these laborers from? From England? They certainly didn't get these laborers from Africa. These found the first adventurers in a very rare starving condition. Yes, we know that before the first Thanksgiving, these people were starving. They were going so far as to eat cadavers, eat dead horses, eat animals, dig up graves, and eat the remains. But relived their wants from the fresh supply they brought with them. But relieve their wants with the fresh, quote unquote, fresh supply they brought with them. Y'all just said it was a musty supply. Now y'all saying it's fresh. Cut the cap from Kikotan. They extended themselves as far as Jamestown, where like true Englishmen, they built a church that cost no more than £50 and a tavern that cost 500. Gotta love it. They had now made peace with the Indians. But there was one thing to make that peace last. So this is in Virginia? Huh. So this was in Virginia. They had peace with the Indians. Nice. The natives could by no means persuade themselves that English were heartily their friends, so long as they disdained to intermarry with them. And in earnest had the English consulted their own security and the good of the colony, had they intended to either civilize or convert these Gentiles, they would have brought their stomachs to embrace this prudent alliance. If we want to be cool with these natives, we got to show them that we're really down for the get down and we need to intermarry with them. Now let's go into some physical characteristics of these Indians. The Indians are generally tall and well proportioned. Which may make full amends for the darkness of their complexions. These are points. You see, those are points. Point 1, point 2. That's not the sentence. The Indians are generally tall and well, page 9, proportioned, which make full amends for the darkness of their complexions. So stop showing me bullshit looking Indians, man. The darkness of their complexions. Add to this that they are healthy and strong, with constitutions untainted by lewdness, and not enfeebled by luxury, meaning they were nice looking, they kept themselves in shape, they looked healthy. Besides, morals and all considered, I can't think the Indians were much greater heathens than the first adventurers, who, had they been good Christians, would have had the charity to take only the method of converting the natives, to Christianity. Meaning, if these people were good Christians like they claim to be, and they are of such higher moral fiber and moral character than these Indians, then why did we slaughter them and force them into subjugation? Why wouldn't we just marry them and intermingle with them and have children with them if we're all about kumbaya? First, for after all that can be said, the sprightly lover is the most prevailing missionary that can be sent among these or any other infidels. The pastors, the priests, the fathers, those dudes, the Franciscan friars, they mingling with everybody. The attorneys, listen, man, we about love and peace and Jesus. And take a Bible here. Those were the people who had the most success. Besides, the poor Indians would have had less reason to complain that the English took away their land if they had received it by way of portion with their daughters. Meaning, had they just married my daughter and got a piece of the land through that inter-agreement, it would have been less to complain about, which is why so many of them married their daughters. Had such affinities been contracted in the beginning, how much bloodshed had been prevented, and how populous would the country have been, and consequently how considerable. Nor would the shade of the skin have been any reproach at this day, for if a Moor may be washed white in 3 generations, surely an Indian might have been blanched into, wow. Nor would the shade of the skin have been any reproach at this day, for if a Moor may be washed white in 3 generations. Oh, you mean how the Bible say 3 generations after me, I'm no longer my father? Or 4 generations is it? Surely an Indian might have been blanched into, damn. The French, for their parts, have not been so squeamish in Canada, who upon trial found an abundance of attraction to the Indians. And the Indians, yes, the French was intermarrying them women like crazy. Their late grand monarch thought it not below even the dignity of a Frenchman to become one flesh with this people. Their late grand monarch thought it not below their dignity. It's perfectly fine, and therefore ordered 100 livres for any of his subjects, man or woman, that would intermarry with a native. So he would even give them money to help to establish a union. By this piece of policy, we find the French interest very much strengthened amongst the savages and their religion, such as it propagated just as far as their love. And I heartily wish this well-concerted scheme don't hereafter give the French an advantage over His Majesty's good subjects on the North Continent of America. They're geniuses to just do it this way, and we should probably be doing the same, and them doing it this way may give them an advantage with the natives against us. About the same time, New England was paired off from Virginia by letters patent. New England was paired off from Virginia by letters patent bearing the date April 10th, 1608. So at that time, was New England and Virginia a part of one another? Several gentlemen of the town and neighborhood of Plymouth obtained this grant, with the lead Chief Justice Popham at their head. You can't make this up. I'll read here in these last two paragraphs and I'll get back to the movie. You guys got to be learning from this. We just learned that they was tall and well proportioned. You know, had it not been for that dark skin, they might have been some lookers. But the French is up in Canada and in their Louisiana territory going crazy and intermarrying and, you know, starting this fur trade and, you know what I mean, having children with them. And this is how we get all these Walloons and Octroons and Quadroons. These Cajuns. The formerly Acadians now become Cajuns. Jesus. Their bounds were specified to extend from 38 to 45 degrees of northern latitude with a breadth of 100 miles from the seashore. The first 14 years, this company encountered many difficulties and lost many men. Though far from being discouraged, they sent over numerous recruits of Presbyterians. Who were the Presbyterians? Didn't they look like me? Didn't they look like them Virginians, them DMV Indians? Every year, who for all that had much ado to stand their ground with all their fighting and praying. But about the year 1620, a large swarm of dissenters fled thither from the severities of their stepmother, the church. These saints, conceiving the same aversion to the copper complexion of the natives, with that of the first adventurers to Virginia, would on no terms contract alliances with them, afraid perhaps, like the Jews of old, lest they might be drawn into idolatry by those strange women. But about the year 1620, a large swarm of dissenters fled thither from the severities of their stepmother, the church. These saints, interesting use of words, conceiving the same aversion to the copper complexion of the natives with that of the first adventurers to Virginia. These saints conceiving the same aversion, meaning disgust, they don't like it, to the copper complexion of the natives with that of the first adventurers to Virginia, would on no terms contract alliances with them, afraid perhaps, like the Jews of old, lest they might be drawn into idolatry by those strange women. Whatever disgusted them, I can't say, but this false delicacy creating in the Indians a jealousy that the English were ill-affected towards them was the cause that many of them were cut off and the rest exposed to various distress, because they didn't want to get with the women. They're like, nigga, you don't mess with us, we don't mess with you. You don't mess with us, we don't mess with you. The most successful colonizers were the ones who intermarried. James Adair was able to have a 40-year experience among them. It married a woman, had one of the most successful fur and trade shops. Beaver furs, otter furs, most successful shops. It's because he intermarried with the tribe, and they will support their own. Dark skin, tall, well proportioned. Let's keep going.
I want to ask War Chief Howell, first of all, what exactly is a war chief? What do you do?
The war chief is like a security officer. You know, anything going on in the tribe wrong, I step in and handle it. If anyone, if they can't do their job, I have to be able to step in and do anybody's job in the tribe.
Oh, okay.
In the absence of the chief, if he can't make it, I step in his absence and do his job. So my job is just like a police officer.
See, I didn't know that.
He's a negotiator also in case we have problems.
Is there a meaning to the feathers in your headwear?
The Chief Brown have done the
He's wearing a Gustoa.
Okay.
In our Iroquois language, we say Gustoa.
Chief.
And War Chief, he has one feather. I have three feathers. Okay. Yeah. But we didn't wear the long flowing head feathers. Many of us in the 16th, 17th, 18th century, early 1800s rather, ran around bare chested and just breech cloth. Okay, men and women. So this is something that has been promulgated by way of television and Hollywood. But Western tribes out west, they wore the long eagle staffs. Yes,
okay.
I mean, with the eagle feathers and the eagle bonnet. But we didn't wear that.
We didn't wear any of that. We didn't wear all those long feathers. What are they talking about? We walked around in togas, almost like Greeks. The Creeks were like Greeks. What?
If they can't do their job, I have to be able to step in and do anybody's job in the tribe.
Oh, okay.
In the absence of the chief, if he can't make it, I step in his absence and do his job. So my job is just like a police officer.
See, I didn't know that.
Gang, are we gonna leave part one right there? Oh, you best believe there's gonna be a part two, because we didn't even get deep yet, family. We are just giving an understanding of how the native Indians actually looked, what would affect our understanding of that today, who were some of the key players in the government that may have pushed that, in particular, Walter Plecker, the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and everything around that situation. And you can't forget your man, 50,000, 11 grand. Oh yeah, don't forget that man was involved, baby. Look at him standing next to Walter Plecker, feeling like he graduated. Looking like Tia Mowry, done graduated. Family, all questions, comments, critiques, criticisms, you know where to send them. You know where to send them. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. We will be back, family. We will be back.
With the backwards attitude, pointing fingers, and that's a bad excuse for sitting on your ass when you complain. It's two things that you don't want to change. You ain't got no time for me, and I ain't got no sympathy for you.
You ain't got no time for me. Ain't got no sympathy for you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, gang. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you dug in with me, and I'm sure if you really pay attention, you can get something out of this. Tell a friend and tell a friend, share it around. This is only part one of this mini series. We gonna teach a steady lying to the kids. We out of here, family. We'll be right back.
Thank you for coming. I'll see you in hell.